Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Podcast. Continuing to pick apart as we do of Raw and SmackDown. We're also T minus about 5 weeks from WrestleMania, so there is a lot going on this week, which is good, at least for people that are going to talk about it. So we'll just get right into it. So we had Raw kickoff with Adam Pearce basically calling out Seth Rollins, and we start getting the emergence of these I just multiple masked men, basically all wearing the same thing, running around the ring, and then obviously eventually we do get Seth Rollins. And so there's a little bit of chatter, and then here comes Logan Paul and Austin Theory of the Vision, and then Seth basically just slips into oblivion, and that's what we get. So um, I hope there's more to this. I hope this works into something of a legitimate storyline, because the mask thing. When Austin Theory did it, we thought there was so many avenues we thought what it would be, and it really didn't come to fruition. It didn't really last long. But like the one this angle with Seth obviously is lasting much longer, way more creative put into it. So I hope they don't fuck up this part of the creative aspect of this, because I feel like it's a good little bit. Um, and you know kind of brings back what I said, I believe, last week, or just in my own head, but like basically the Seth Rollins Messiah gimmick, right? Where he has followers, and maybe these guys are, maybe he's the Groot to them being minions. I don't know. So I guess we'll just wait and see what, hopefully we get something tomorrow on Raw again, because I feel like this is an interesting, fun, whatever bit to do. So again, I hope they don't mess with it. Now, so basically, it's so it doesn't make much sense to me, right? So obviously, like Rhea and Io obviously lost their titles before Elimination Chamber, right? Which basically led us down the road of, well, Rhea's gonna win now because they lost the title, so now she can do something else. And they instantly split them. They're essentially instantly split up from the tag team division. Rhea goes to the single stuff because she's going to WrestleMania, and then they thrust Io Sky into the women's intercontinental picture, which I'm glad they're at least doing something with the intercontinental picture. Um, just because, again, we're on the cusp of WrestleMania. Like, we need to have some build. We need to have some matchups be able to build beyond once you know who's in them, because they do that a lot, where they just like mad rush something in and don't give the wrestlers time to build a little bit of disdain, build a little story to it, really give it some oomph before it goes to the actual matchup. And so we have this number one contenders um, matchup, obviously, for AJ Lee. And so I believe the week prior, I think it was Bailey, and I don't know if they're building towards multiple. Um, but so we have Io Sky versus Lyra Valkyria, and Io Sky wins that. Actually, no, scratch it. This is a gauntlet match, so I'm totally space cadetting. I just ruined everything out the gate. But so you get this gauntlet match. You have Io Sky obviously defeat Lyra Valkyria. Io Sky defeats Raquel Rodriguez, which I'm really surprised they haven't done more with her since they thrust her
Yeah.
into the main championship, and then Liv screws her over, and now she's going down to the secondary and then not even getting anywhere. And then we had Ivy Nile defeat Io Sky, obviously, with the help of Raquel Rodriguez. And then at the end of it, obviously, we have Bailey versus Ivy Nile, and then Bailey faces Asuka at the end, and obviously wins the whole thing with the help of Lyra Valkyria, due to some outside interference. Which, so I mean, this at least we have something, right? And I wish that because this is not going to be WrestleMania matchup stuff yet, right? And this is just going to be regular Raw content. Obviously, being 5-6 weeks away from WrestleMania, you have to build a bigger match, right? And I think that with how WrestleMania is looking right now, they need to truly actually stack the card. Don't just get a bunch of YouTubers and TikTokers to overinflate how good the WrestleMania is going to be, because they're out there, and I feel like they literally get paid by WWE to overhype everything.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us are like, yeah, okay, oh, it's must see. Yeah, no, it's not. It's must. I'm glad I watch it after the fact because it's a must fast forward. Um, but so we get Penta, um, who was supposed to face the Chad Gable Americano before Chad Gable got cursed by Danhausen, which is good TV. I Danhausen is growing on people, and he's starting to get some love because obviously when he got introduced, it was a little bit of hatred just because we had expectations. But obviously now that we've kind of let Danhausen do its thing, and he's going on Raw or SmackDown too, so it's not like he's subjected to one show right now. And yeah, so we actually get the second Americano versus Penta, and obviously Penta does come out on top, which I'm glad that Penta is our Intercontinental Champion because he actually will defend it. He puts on really good matches, and we definitely have had some subpar champions. Dominic Mysterio, really not put on that good of matches. So, and when the faces have championships, they're more straight up. So I like straight up matches. You guys have heard me talk a million times about how I wish there was just some matches that just didn't have all the outside interference. So now to get to a segment that I'm sure we can honestly pick apart. But so we had the whole Judgment Day, come out because Dominic had to talk, and it got heated, and it got to the point where Finn, he gets Finn gets pushed by Dominic and basically saying that your dad was right, you're a spoiled prick.
Mhm.
And which ends up in this whole debacle, and now we have what we've all wanted, and that is Finn out of the Judgment Day. So are we happy about that?
Oh, I am. He's
Yeah,
the only one that
yeah,
definitely needed to leave.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah. He ran his course.
yeah.
Um,
So I just didn't care how it happened. but but I thought honestly the line of basically Finn saying your dad was right, and before he even said anything beyond that, like Dominic just looked pissed.
Oh, he was he was biting his lips.
Yeah,
Definitely 100%.
yeah. So I definitely look forward to what this becomes, um, because it was weird too that JD being a legitimate lifelong friend of Finn Balor did not have his back whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, I didn't care how it happened. I wanted it to happen. We've always wanted it to happen.
right.
So I definitely look forward to what obviously tomorrow will bring with Finn Balor. You know, maybe getting a couple more beatdowns from the Judgment Day, and working into a good match at WrestleMania. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that's where we're headed with
Hope
that.
as to say if they do what I've been reading, it's they're saying it might be Finn versus um, Dominic Mysterio, and they're hoping a lot of fans, but they talked to Finn about it. They might push the Demon Finn, and what's her name that's out injured from Judgment Day might come in and help out Finn.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think it's definitely a possible angle.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You
yeah.
know, I mean, this is, you know, we talk about the recipes all the time. I mean, it's they recycle, repurpose, and reuse. So, you know, this scenario is very plausible to happen. So, you know, but you know, again, we have 5-6 weeks to WrestleMania. You know, a lot can happen, a lot can develop, and I really hope they do. Like, I mean, it eventually has to happen. Obviously, Finn basically, you know, getting his licks in with the Judgment Day. So, you know, I definitely hope it leads to a good build of a WrestleMania match. So now we finally got the matchup that at least seemed plausible, which was Obafemi facing off against Rusev. And I have to say, what pretty much everyone's saying is that Rusev's return is been trashed, and not by him, but by creative. And I don't know why. I don't know what for, but it's like you bring Rusev back, you know, and when he gets back, obviously he's a much different character than he was, you know, previously with WWE. Obviously went to NXT, kind of reinvented himself a little bit, and then comes back to WWE and really is just a stepping stone at this point. You know, and I just feel like they put him in meaningless situations. They bury him in certain situations. And like I get that they're trying to put over Obafemi. I get it. But like not at the expense of Rusev, because he's been built for years as a monster of whatever, and just a really brutal wrestler. But then you basically have him get squashed like a bug. I mean, you got a bunch of guys in back that could at least take a beating, you know. Give these new guys a good old fashioned Obafemi beat up. Like, they're soft building with Jade. Why can't we soft build with Obafemi? So,
agree.
yeah. And so the end of the night, we get basically CM Punk coming out, followed by the Usos, and basically about the comments that CM Punk made the week prior. And I don't know what this angle is supposed to be, because it feels like, I get what they were saying in regards to, talking about Roman's father, their uncle. But like, I didn't need this segment to really build that. You guys could have posted something on freaking social media for all I care. But they
It really
this.
is to put over. It really is to put over CM Punk as the heel in this story.
I think so. I think he's going to be the heel, and Roman's going to be the baby face.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, I definitely think we're going to get more of a, 2000, mid 2000s CM Punk. And maybe that's what they're trying to do, just because on both sides of the table they don't really have a certified heel. And maybe that's the angle, so it can actually be what it always has been, where it was a face versus a heel. Whether the heel or the face was champion, that's how they've done it. And I think this is really kind of a last minute effort to really actually, make it feel like a heel versus a face, even though, like, I mean, some of the stuff CM Punk was saying was actually pretty spot on, because, Roman basically got a taste of his own medicine, because he said shit to Cody, and Cody didn't fire back. And, and so, like, what he's speaking is truth. I don't even really think, like, I mean, they're going to angle it as being heelish, but it's like, for the average fan, that's how that seems like it is. But like, I really don't think it's very heel like oriented just because he's speaking facts. They might be brutal facts, but they're facts nonetheless. And so, Roman just got a dose of his own medicine. Now we kick off SmackDown with Nick Aldis out there, and basically calls out Drew McIntyre. Was it Drew McIntyre that called out Nick Aldis? I don't know. But
I think it was Drew.
yeah. Well, because I think Nick was in the ring, and I think Drew McIntyre came out and then stood on the table for a little bit, but anyways, yeah, and so basically Drew's frustrated as he should, and to the unknown fan, the average not really digging in fan base, obviously they see the angle, but like for us who obviously really dig into things and like know why he's leaving, obviously to film a movie. So he did what Drew does best and basically complains, yada yada, ends up basically saying I quit, and walks off, and we're left, oh no. And we've again seen this recipe, seen this angle before. Now I don't know why they just this Wyatt Six and MFT's angle with the lantern is absolutely
stupid.
played out. It's
Mm.
it's just
And-
it's there's nothing to it,
You know,
because
I
and then you have
yeah.
Solo and whatever one of the goons he's with that are the tag team champions, and they've really done nothing because they're doing this whole lantern angle.
It's the same thing we've seen. It's a Bray Wyatt tribute. We saw it with CM Punk and The Undertaker when Paul Bearer died. We've just seen all kinds of we've seen all kinds of stuff. It's to drag out the Wyatt Six versus the MFTs, and to be honest with you, I think that ship has already sailed. I never was the demographic for that. So yeah,
and
they can.
they've already
Yeah.
had 5-on-5 matches, so it's not like anything they do. It's like it's really useless. I mean, and the whole like lantern thing. I mean, it's just weird filler, and it's a misuse of the presentation of the Wyatt Six as they were when they first came back, or they
Mhm.
presented themselves. It's taken away that luster, that ooh ah moment with them, and now they're just in a flat plateau of a storyline that's really not doing anything for either team.
It's boring. It's a boring storyline. And with the crap WWE is doing with both teams like this is why they get wrestlers that get frustrated. And this is the reason why they usually want to not renew their contract. And the reason why they want to leave and go to another promotion because of this stupid crap. I can understand what a lot of the superstars do that crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's they sit there and present these characters and then just have them do nothing. I mean, look what they've done with the Street Profits, who were on the rise and then just disappeared. They're not injured. They're not nothing. They just have nothing.
Yeah, they've just been doing a lot of these house shows.
Yeah, I mean, they're really not doing anything. And what I think, just what I think, maybe you guys can agree or disagree, but the Street Profits would be great to back up Seth Rollins.
No. Wait.
I mean, really, think about like how the Street Profits have gotten, like, if they because they kind of tag team with, or they went to join with was it like MVP for a hot second?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they
Yeah, they
started
teamed
doing
up
this.
with
If
MVP
only-
in the Hurt Business
Yeah, if
for a little bit.
only we get a program with Seth Rollins and Montez Ford to push Montez into a singles career. And if that's not going to happen, then the answer is no. But if it's going to happen and they're going to invest a year into Montez Ford and really push Montez Ford with Angelo Dawkins, you know, I don't know, being his bodyguard or, just being his bro, and, Angelo, get some singles, some singles joy as well, then yeah, there's a possibility for that. I could be on board with them teaming up, Seth turning heel because that's what Seth does, and pushing Montez in a singles career over a year. Then yeah, let's see it. If it's just going to be the same old Seth Rollins just beats up on people and stuff like that, no, we can't have that. Yeah.
Makes sense. Now, speaking of repetitive nonsense, so we get the reemergence of Jade Cargill picking fights with Michin and B-Fab, and if I just don't get it, and it does nothing, for people that come to the shows. It does nothing for people watching the shows. That we bring back this whole debacle like Jade had when she first won the championship freaking millenniums ago, and I had these squabbles with lower card talent of Michin and B-Fab, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing to create any buzz, any relevancy to dominance of Jade Cargill by having her do these little stupid little matches, and then they leave for a little while, and now B-Fab and Michin are back, and then let's start back up again. Like, it's such a waste. It's like no one there live wants to see this stupid ass freaking goof match, because people are paying top dollar, right? I think they were saying, like, I think the lower bowl seats are like somewhere like $700. So if I'm paying $700 to go to a show, whether and especially just a Raw or SmackDown, it wasn't even like a PLE even, and so you're paying that much money, and I guess if you have that money and you can afford that, I guess maybe you don't care. But I think logically, and it's like if I'm gonna pay all this money and I get to see 4 matches, so I just basically paid like $150 a match, and I get this little shit bomb of a 4-minute, 5-minute match. Like they're gonna really start lose. I mean, they're already losing, but like
Yeah, so they're already losing money anyways. That's why they keep raising the prices of tickets, and
I
plus
think
merch sales too.
Yeah, I think this match was more to put Jade as a heel and being a bully and being, being a bully, and but also too at the same time, we also said in previous podcasts that we wanted to see anything from Jade, instead of just having her sit around. And now that we see something, now the complaint is that no one wanted to see this type of thing. So it's kind of you've gotta like, I would rather see her do this and be on TV than have her not do anything and be on TV. So having her in this match with Michin coming back from injury, B-Fab probably waiting for Michin, I think makes sense, especially if they want to position Jade as the heel going into WrestleMania. So, I mean,
speaking for the masses.
Yeah, so it's
Pick a
we
lane,
gotta
man.
have something. We've got to have something, and this is what I would rather have for Jade, is something as opposed to nothing, which is what we got for a long time before she had that match with Jordan Grace, and before that we just seen her on TV, or we didn't see her at all. So
Right.
I'd rather have her consistently on TV in these squash matches, in these like ridiculous things, as opposed to not.
Right.
You've always said you wanted a fighting champion. Now you get a fighting champion. Now you're complaining about how the champion's being, fighting in a match that doesn't make any sense. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm probably not alone too, because like I think that's a lot of people's you know view is like, yeah, I want something, but it's like, but then you get something, you're like,
Yeah, you
this
get that
wasn't the
like you
something that
get
I
that one
want.
match like
Yeah.
and
nah.
and like I think if it was other wrestlers that they just could basically just feed us and just feed Jade these other matches, I think it's more about the fact that it's the same people than it is the actual squash matches.
No, I
And
think
because
if it
I
would have
think
been anybody, I think if it would have been Isla Nile, Isla Dawn, or whatever her name is,
Ivy
if
Nile.
yeah, if it would have been anything, I think the complaint would have been the same. It's like you're just feeding us the same match over and over. And for me, I'm sitting here thinking like, well, about time they had her consistently on TV, in a squash match now, and then with the backstage segment of bullying them and, speaking, just being a jerk, it's going towards her being a heel. So I'd rather have her on TV and have any champion or in every champion on TV doing something as opposed to doing nothing. Um, yeah, and that's how I feel about it. That's my point of view. So yeah, give me something versus nothing, and
Yeah.
I'll deal with the something,
I
when it
should
shows up.
I should be happy I got something.
I
I
mean,
am
one way to look at it is not it's not that, being happy with that you got something, but there's momentum to tell the bigger story. We've
right.
instead of being it stagnant.
Yeah. I mean,
Just
and at least,
reframing,
yeah.
expectation, because we're not going to get the greatest WWE that we can right now
Mhm.
because of whatever. I don't know. I think they're still trying to figure out creative. And going through that process, they've announced that they've got a couple of new lead creative people. I think they're still trying to figure out how to best utilize what they have, because what they wanted got injured, and now
Yeah.
they've got to pivot and they've got to build something, from a creative standpoint. Other promotions are like, well, shit, I mean, somebody's hurt, all right, well, let's just move on until they come back, and then we'll pick up where we left off, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
so
And
yeah.
and I think, again, it is they've had to pivot quite a bit in the last, we'll call it even just the last 3-4 months. And obviously the injury bug is plaguing, the roster right now. And so from the, we have to pivot and we have new creative, makes a lot of sense, but it's like you have a whole ass team. Like Road Dog left, yeah, but it's like you still have a full freaking table. And I think even if you have to pivot, you should at least make something remotely compelling. Like you guys have had to have had, a ABC plan, you know, and so and I just it's they're pivoting, I understand. But like when we're on the cusp of WrestleMania, like there's nothing between now and WrestleMania. So they have to bring some believable stories. I mean, because like we have nothing with the men's tag on either side. We have, we don't have anything certified for the men's IC. The men's US is still kind of, a situation. Obviously, they're working towards the AJ Lee Intercontinental situation, but again, I don't think that's going to be at WrestleMania. or unless it's going to be some rendition of something where it's a multiple person match, which is usually what they do. And then you have Julia being the U.S. title that they've really have fallen flat with that. And they've done nothing. And now at least the women's tag team division is strong, right? I do give it that much. The women's tag team division is on fire. And then basically the only, thing you have left right now besides the main 4 matches is the Brock Lesnar Open Challenge, which Brock is supposed to be there, I believe, either Monday or Friday.
I think he's supposed to be there Monday.
And so at least we can continue that build, because I think that's going to be probably one of the more exciting matches, at WrestleMania, is who the hell's going to face Brock Lesnar. And so,
I say Obofeth.
Yeah, I mean, and so so we really have, T-5 weeks, so 5 shows apiece to get something rolling, because I don't want them to all of a sudden just blast us with these very generic, very vanilla matches that could have easily been on a Raw or SmackDown. If they want to, because it's like, if you're paying top dollar for these tickets, which they're astronomical, and people are probably not going to go, and so you better make this shit the cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah.
That might be a problem.
So I
who
they
freaking knows?
They definitely need to make it worthy of the dollar amount. Now, speaking of the women's tag team division, we did get the Irresistible Forces in Lash Legend and Nia Jax versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and of course ended a DQ because of the stupid Bella Twins. And I don't know why they're here. Like, I don't care that they're here. They talked, it was literally like 5 weeks ago, they were talking about putting the tag team champions on notice, and then they disappear for 5 weeks, and then all of a sudden come back, and then just like the women's tag team championship is going to easily be a fatal 4-way like ladder match or something in the women's division,
Most
right?
likely.
But it's just like, I don't want to see the Bella Twins win. I don't even want to see them there. Like, I just don't. Bye Bella Twins.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't mind seeing the Bella Twins, getting another run. I think it could be good. It could be good, especially if they're going to promote younger tag teams. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. However, it would be a disservice to Lash Legend and Nia Jax on having a short title reign. So I don't know if at WrestleMania or like the Monday after WrestleMania or the Friday after WrestleMania, but yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know what I would want to see, but I could enjoy a Bella's run for no other reason than eye candy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't like them, and I'm sorry your child support's so high, Nikki, but like, that's not our problem. Go do an OnlyFans. Anyways, so
that was wrong.
Nah, that was right.
I mean, like, her life problems are like, go do something else.
I think they brought them both back. Nostalgia act, and maybe to elevate other tag teams. It just takes time to get them into the right programs.
I mean, and maybe that's just what it is. I mean, maybe it's the creative direction in which they've kind of been presented doesn't really align with, the other storylines that are going on in regards to, like, because it's like, you can't like present something and then all of a sudden have them disappear for a month and then have them come back. But you gotta be weekly. I mean, that's why honestly I love Nia Jax and Lash Legends as champions. I love that because one, Nia's established, and Lash has been someone who's come up and honestly was kind of in limbo for a while, and then here comes Nia Jax, who they're both on the same wavelength, the same mentality. You put them together, you got gold. And I think it's probably one of the better things going on right now is freaking Nia Jax and Lash Legend because you have the bougie Billy and then you have the irresistible force and now you have the irresistible forces, and I think good on creative for putting those two together because it works really well. It's not a forced storyline. It's not a forced making us perceive an ego. It is literally it's gold. So I like what they're doing with those two, and honestly Nia Jax would be kind of off into the oblivion either way, so it kind of works for her too. Now we again with Danhausen and cursing people, I absolutely love every bit of it. And like I said, like we said, is that Danhausen, obviously, when he arrived, it was a different reaction, not because it was him, but because it wasn't someone else. And now that we've started to see him on regular TV, I mean, he has he's so comedic, right? And it's basically like a young R-Truth. I mean, his work is almost like Santina Morella, like John Cena, and it's they got him in a good spot, and I think that now that we've moved beyond him being presented, and then obviously people were upset, but now that we've just kind of seen him start really doing his thing in the back, and saying this is what I want my list to be, and the cursing people, and so it's refreshing. so um so our next match we got was Damian Priest versus Los Garza, obviously something that developed throughout the night as these matches do. And man, I like Damian Priest and R-Truth. I think they work surprisingly well together, and I think honestly it's good for Damian Priest to be doing something rather than nothing. Just because obviously he's definitely more of a prominent singles competitor, but I mean, honestly, I feel like the tag team division, is at least doing something, right? Because I think a lot of the championships are, in kind of a lull or a kind of, stagnant situation. And so, yeah, I like R-Truth and Damian Priest. I think it's fun. But yet, I love the new R-Truth, I guess you could say, with the fully bald hair now, not just the little bit left. Now he's just straight up bald and, looks like a young Frederick,
Even though he's older. But I
you're right.
yes.
Right. but he's your hero. But John Cena's your childhood hero.
Yes. Yes.
But I do love that R-Truth does do the attitude adjustment, and I think that's fun.
Yeah. I think it's a fun act, and I could see R-Truth retiring after this tag team championship run.
Yeah. And the thing is that R-Truth has done so much in his career. I mean, whenever he wants to hang up the boots, dude, we're all nothing but respect.
Yeah.
There's zero disdain. I don't care how R-Truth wants to retire as long as it's on his own terms. Hall of Famer, period. So, now we get Miz TV, which I guess is just, I might as well have interviews with Kathy Kelly because at least she's good to look at. But we get the Miz TV, and here comes Jelly Roll, and I like that they're kind of incorporating celebrities into, some of these segments. One, I think SmackDown's really doing it because literally they're doing it on Netflix every week. And so I think this is a massive, effort to basically paralleling that with SmackDown, to get at least some kind of buzz.
Mhm.
And honestly, like, I like Jelly Roll anyways. So like, you know what? More Jelly Roll is fine with me. So obviously Miz was asking him stupid questions and obviously got punched by Jelly Roll. And you know, I don't know if celebrities how to throw fake punches, but I feel like he legitimately hit him. But
He
like,
probably legitimately hit him,
so,
which I'm not mad about.
no, not at all. Now, so we're on the cusp of this whole trying to figure out, the next challenger for Julia's United States Championship. For whatever reason, so we get Tiffany Stratton versus Kiana James, which is Julia's counterpart. And I don't know, they haven't really said anything definitive on, when we're gonna get, a women's United States Championship match. I guess obviously, like we do, obviously we'll figure out, as the week goes on, because, the dirt sheets, and then which I think are honestly planted anyways. Like I said about the people overhyping WWE shows, I feel like it's like it's like one of those little gig work jobs where like, hey, we'll give you $100 just to overhype a show. I would do that. I'll take $100, but 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 yeah. So ends up with Tiffany Stratton obviously doing the prettiest moonsault ever, which I think honestly how she does it is honestly pretty athletic. So, but so we get the next matchup, which was again something that got created throughout the night, which was obviously Trick talking smack to Jacob Fatu, which is not something I recommend. And so we get Trick Williams versus Jacob Fatu. Um, Obviously, with the help of one Drew McIntyre, obviously Trick does get the win over Jacob Fatu, and now we're thrown into a whole nother loop with what is Drew McIntyre doing. And obviously he's supposed to be going to film a movie. So it's like I don't know like if Nick Aldis is going to like suspend him indefinitely or something. Maybe we get that old, pull that one out of the bag.
Yeah.
So
Most likely.
and so maybe we get, you're suspended indefinitely, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go film a movie, I'll see you in 6 weeks. But like, but it's the definitely one of the probably top 10 recipes and tropes of WWE
Hmm.
is a way to sign someone off is either you injure them or you suspend them. So yeah. Now we get to the fun part of the show, which was um the contract signing, which probably 95% of contract signings ends up in a brawl, and this was no different. And man, and I said earlier, I said, if they want to create heels so the matchups at WrestleMania are more believable and more, the normal recipe of heel versus
Hmm.
face, they sure as hell did it. And Randy Orton just beat the absolute brakes off of Cody Rhodes.
Hey, beat the living dog shit out of him.
And that it was a well placed blood capsule.
I'm just happy to see Orton back as a heel once again.
Yeah,
I'm tired of him as a baby face. He's better
yeah,
as a
and
Oh,
heel
he's
than a baby
always,
face.
because he's
I,
been such a perfect heel. He's always a baby face. It's like the
well,
heel you love. He
well, and
really is the heel you love.
and that's the funny thing is that so during this whole segment, right? In the WWE universe has been very vocal about their disdain for Cody Rhodes being champion, right? And it was absolutely hilarious. if you go back and watch this bit or just remember this bit, is that the crowd was still chanting Randy. Even after all the shit he did, like Frederick just said, he's the heel you love. And like Cody's the face we hate. So like this is a weird this is how WWE operates, man. You can hate the face and love the heel. Like that's just purely what this is. And I have to say I absolutely love it. You know what? I'm like I said, I've been very outspoken about being over with Cody being champion, and I don't.
He didn't even get a pop when he came out. He got a lot of boos.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean that seems about what's tracking for Cody. I think the more that they shove it down your throat, the more you reject it. You look at how they did Roman Reigns, and eventually it's going to have to come full circle like it did with Roman Reigns, where Roman has to come back just being himself, which is an arrogant person. And Cody has to come back as an entitled, arrogant person with black hair, in order for him to like have his retribution arc, so he can go back to being the face. But if they just wanted to have him without the championship and just have him do babyface things, that could probably work a lot better than having the championship on him. The more you have the championship on heels, the more you want to have a face who does the right thing, who brings balance back. There's a give and take. I see Randy winning at WrestleMania. I don't see Cody.
We need the balance in the force.
Yeah, so I definitely see Randy winning. This doesn't go well for Cody at all. And if we get black-haired Cody, all elite Cody, let's get that going.
So to our wonderful segment of Are You In or Are You Out? We've obviously talked about pretty much most of this stuff. Feel free to give your honest opinion. And so the first thing being the masked guy gimmick with Seth Rollins. And is it going to work towards something, or is just going to be some scramble of artwork they're going to do?
I say scrambled. I think it's kind of okay and interesting what they're doing, but no.
Like
everybody's been just out of the whole mask people. They've just been pointing out the fat guy in the group.
Yeah, I think
it's Opa Femi.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, there has to be a definitive, where they're trying to get with this bit. And, much like they've done before, like back when they did the retribution angle, right, with Mustafa Ali, when they did that whole thing, is they dragged it out too much. And then when we got it, it was very subpar, right? Some guys with some freaking masks and looking like Bane. And so like I feel like they need to move along and get to the point of this bit, because we don't want this just to get lost in the shuffle because it's Seth freaking Rollins. It's not like it's just any schmuck. It's not some mid-carder. So they really need to, get towards a definitive point to this, 10 guys running around in circles playing, tag who's it, because it's kind of silly at its base, right? Like, and so like there needs to be something that comes out of this, and it needs to be presented relatively quickly. At least 2 weeks before WrestleMania, I will say they need to have some conclusion, some end game to the whole angle. So
yeah, yep, I agree. because it's going to wear out thin. If this happens every week until WrestleMania, no one's going to pay attention after the second week, you know,
Yeah.
unless, you know, they're going to call up Dark State.
I would
You know,
love
that
Dark
would,
State to be up there with him.
you know,
That would be
be
amazing.
the only, like, you know, that would be the only thing, like, you know, because this seems like a Dark State type of NXT vibe.
Yeah.
But there's the payoff has got to be good, because if it's not going to be good, I mean, let's just stop it right now.
Yeah. So next, I think everybody's pretty universal on this, and that's Finn Balor finally getting kicked out of the Judgment Day. I think we're pretty much all on board with the same conclusion of thank God he's finally out of the Judgment Day, and we
Yep.
can see Finn do what Finn do, and because Finn being in that group, it's he's too good for that group. That group is like
That group was holding them down.
the group is a land of misfit toys. And because I mean, if you really think about it, with like when it started, it was powerful, right? With Rhea, Edge, and Damian. Those are three powerhouses. And then when Finn came in, and then they booted out, and then it was still a power. It was still a power team, right? I mean, that's still Rhea, Finn, and Damian. Like that's a powerhouse. And then as soon as Rhea and Damian got booted out, it became the land of misfit toys. And Finn does not belong with misfit toys. I just I'm I don't know why it's taken him this long, and maybe this is just their version of long-term story booking, but he was basically the last remaining of the essential OG Judgment Day. So now it's what it is, and I can't wait to see what they do with Finn on the singles side of it, or if he's going to be subjected to dealing with the Judgment Day for a while, as Rhea and Damian had to do for a while. But I think that's obviously what we're going to get. I mean, like it or lump it, that's just the progression of getting kicked out of a group. You have to deal with them for a little bit. So
yeah, I think they're going to be running it back a few times.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, really.
Yeah. So my next one, I mean, this is kind of a mixed question, but like, so Uso's going back to doing Roman's work. And I don't mean like in the sense of like, having his back in a match, but like when the Usos came out, obviously to CM Punk, and were basically all this apologize stuff, it seemed to honestly make Roman look more weak and CM Punk look more over. And I think CM Punk is more over because of the things he said, because Roman, didn't like getting a dose of his own medicine with people talking shit about his dad, because he did the same thing to Cody Rhodes, and we didn't get any flack about that. So
because it's only Cody Rhodes. I mean, it's only Cody Rhodes. Dustin is in AEW. His sister Teal doesn't work, in professional wrestling.
The thing with he's talking about Cody's dad, not his
brother. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But because Roman's dad is the Usos' uncle. Yeah, and the thing that I liked about it, this wasn't about Roman and sending his cousins to do his bidding. This was more like, hey bro, you said something about our uncle. Roman ain't here. This is about us. And it reminded me of like somebody you cool with that has a problem with a family member. As long as it's one-on-one, it's gonna be all right. But when you start like bringing up family and saying really negative things, you're gonna be like, hey bro, you owe an apology. And because of CM Punk's either his bravado or his ego, where he couldn't been like, you know what? Yeah, and he had to CM Punk had to stand on his business and say what he did. So Big Jim does what he does. If you disrespect, ain't nobody gonna disrespect my family but me. And that's how Big Jim was taking it. And that's how Jay was taking it. Jay's a crash out, but Big Jim is all about that business. And he got a new baby on the way, if not already here. Yeah, buddy.
It's gonna say, yeah, he just had their baby.
Yeah, so somebody was gonna get a slap, and Jim likes slapping people. Just ask the Miz. I mean, he likes slapping people. Super kicking and slapping people.
He slapped the heck out of a fucking Gunter in the face.
Oh yeah, he likes slapping people. So.
In the wise words of Mark Henry's entrance music, someone gonna get the ass kicked.
Yep, someone, and for me, I was like, all right, looking at it, CM Punk giving Roman Reigns his own verbal medicine, so does, a taste of his own medicine verbally, I think is like one of those callbacks. It's like a callback in the storytelling. It's like, oh, I'm gonna do the same thing to you. However, just because you cool with some family members and not another, and think you can just talk any kind of way about somebody's family, doesn't mean that there's not going to be repercussions. And that's what we saw. It's it's like, you don't want to apologize, I'm gonna slap you. And that's it.
And the thing is too is that when you've heard people say, keep my like Will Smith said, keep my wife's name out your mouth. Well, CM Punk said things about Jimmy and Jay, right? He said, oh, we're, so he interjected them. Like they didn't just come out of left field, because he basically made it out to Roman, basically saying, well, I'm good with your brothers, and your brothers always tell me and talk me all the shit you say and blah, blah. And then Jimmy and Jay are like, I know, motherfucker. Like let me truly give you a piece of my mind, because you might view it as that, but like it ain't gonna be that. And I really hope that maybe we get CM Punk versus Jimmy or Jay or something, like just for S&Gs. I'll face Jimmy one week and Jay the next. I don't care. I think that's good filler for CM Punk.
Yeah, I think that is something that we definitely need. We definitely need to see the Usos going one-on-one with CM Punk. I think it's good story. I think it makes it more compelling for Roman to beat CM Punk. If there's if that happens. So
well, and you're definitely gonna see maybe, let's say, I don't know, maybe like within 2 weeks of WrestleMania, right? Like if we get this, again, CM Punk versus Jimmy or Jay or whatever else, the end game is going to be Roman Reigns coming out, and then all three of them sitting over CM Punk's carcass. Like that's, but like that's not some bloodline reunion. That is just you talk shit about my family. You
this
fuck
is
around
what
and find
happens. Out. Let family deal with family stuff. Yeah, and I think that's so yeah. Let's see how messy this gets.
Yeah. And then obviously another one, obviously, again, we've kind of touched on, is the whole MFT Wyatt 6 battle over the lantern. And I'm not on board. I think it's boring. It's a waste of both talents, really.
Yeah, I think it's because they don't have enough for them to do, and the story isn't compelling. Matter of fact, I think what we could get, we could get a War Games with them. If that's so far off, I would have to put them on ice. I would have to put this story on ice and just have like little squabbles here and there. But then let's do a war games with them.
Yeah.
Let's,
I mean,
and then have everybody turn on Solo.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Have everybody turn on Solo. That way we can be done and over with it. Solo can then start his redemption arc to try to get back with his family. Um, and I think that's where we go. I think Jacob being just doing solo stuff, just being an independent, not being with his family or his cousins and relatives. I think that's fine. I think JC Mateo and the Tongans, I think we just need to have another Bullet Club. I think we just need to have another Bullet Club and have all of them link up with Finn and just start doing Bullet Club stuff. And I
Yeah.
would not be surprised if WWE
Well, and you
does
also have these subtle exchanges between Tama Tonga and Shinsuke Nakamura.
Yeah.
And so you have the small seeds being planted.
Oh yeah, I think
And
they're
I
trying to
so
can
split them up.
I can get behind Tama going singles.
yeah.
Yeah, I can get behind that, and
So I think there's at
yeah.
least seeds being planted of possible, dissension among the MFTs, because I feel like I really feel like basically Tama and Tongaloa basically JC Mateo was more of a follower, not a leader. And so, basically Tama Tonga Tongaloa obviously have their own relevancy, outside of the MFTs. And I feel like JC Mateo was more of a utility player. The same thing with Tala Tonga. And so I feel like they could dismantle and still be in relevant storylines as,
Mhm.
a tag team or individual. Because you could basically book Tala Tonga as basically like an Omos or a Big Show, or maybe, heck, man, freaking give me Tala Tonga versus freaking Obafemi. Like, I think there's multiple angles they could do with Tala Tonga as a singles, and then obviously you have God that could do their own thing as a tag team, and JC is just kind of JC Mateo. So in Solo basically only functions in a group. So I mean, there's basically they all need each other at this juncture, just because there's not enough, like you said, right now to dismantle them and have them be in compelling storylines. And you also don't want to
Mhm.
water them down either, So if it takes us 2 years like it did for Finn Balor, and it has a good culmination and good stories and everything else that goes with, dismantling from a team, then maybe that's what it's going to be. Um, and I think that's kind of what the MFTs are going to be, is kind of that long-term story booking and getting some culmination, maybe the end of the year, maybe. But again, I mean, it's all on creatives back at this point. So, but yeah. And the last thing, obviously, again, it's something we've kind of brushed over, is obviously Randy Orton finally going heel. And like we said, we hate the face and we love the heel. And I'm dude, I love it, dude. It's just Randy Orton's just the guy. Legitimately, like when he, it said, I don't know if it was his, like, Dusty Rhodes was basically saying about, like, if you, I don't know who said it, but was basically, if you could make a wrestler from the ground up, that would, you'd basically get Randy Orton.
Cody Rhodes said that.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
what Dusty Rhodes said about not Dusty Rhodes. It was JBL that said that.
oh yeah, JBL, yeah. So I mean, and it's literally in the truest form. I mean, if you make a character on WWE, you'd want him to basically be Randy Orton. So, but yeah. So I mean, so we still have a lot to get to, in the next, 4 or 5 weeks up till WrestleMania. We'll probably be doing a WrestleMania live stream, giving it on a Sunday, so you get to deal with us in real time. So,
Mhm.
but yeah. So I mean, we'll put a pin in this as we do, and we will be back next week to continue to break down Raw, SmackDown, and again the stories that come up. So this is the Lockdown Podcast. Peace.